Whether it's absolute silence or lo-fi beats, you have a work style all your own. And Best Buy tech experts can help you get the right tech for you. Available online, in-store, or in your home. Work for you space achieved. Details at bestbuy.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of someone trying to steal your crypto. Every day, thousands of hackers online are doing the same. That's why Arculus uses air-gapped cold storage technology to protect your assets. Using our keycard and wallet app to form a protective barrier, Arculus insulates you from hackers and puts control of your digital assets back in your hands. Order the first truly air-gapped crypto wallet at getarculus.com.
It's time to celebrate the greatest team sport known to man, where modern-day gladiators collide, all for the glory of the gridiron. We'll talk some college football on Cougar Sports with Ben Criddle.
Welcome back, Cougar Sports, ESPN 960. This is Cougar Country. We're live from Larry H. Miller Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram, where you can test drive any one of these vehicles on the lot. We're going to give you a VIP pass to our Ultimate Tailgate event next to LaVell Edwards Stadium at the Chevron pregame extravaganza. Get you fed, get you a drink. Let's eat, drink, and be merry before we go into that BYU-USF matchup at LaVell Edwards Stadium, 8:15 p.m. kickoff on ESPN2. But you got to stop in to get that pass and get those Megaplex movie tickets here at Larry H. Miller, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, 1825 North University Parkway. That's 1825 North University Parkway. Let's talk some college football with a man that knows a thing or two about college football, representing ESPN, the creator, the alpha, the omega of the SP Plus analytics projection system. Let's welcome in Bill Conley. Bill, how you living, man? Thanks for joining us.
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing awesome, man. Always love hashing it up with you, talking some college football. Let's start off with this, man. BYU projection, SP Plus says 40-14, and I'm taking that to the bank, man. I think BYU crosses that 40-point threshold, whoever the quarterback may be.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know that USF really has a lot to offer here. I mean, maybe the Florida A&M experience last week was kind of a get-right experience, but it was very little resistance against Florida until the game was out of hand. There was no resisting against NC State. So, I mean, until they show us that they're good at some things, it doesn't really seem like they'll offer much resistance here either.
Yeah. What is this? Who is this USF team? It does seem like they're improving. It seems like they're getting better. That NC State game was just like that one was an ugly one, but they scored 20 versus Florida, a very good football team, a very good football program, and then got a nice win, 38-17, maybe getting a little momentum on their side and a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, they've been pretty good in the red zone. They've taken advantage of the opportunities they've had. I mean, maybe that's a small sample thing. Maybe it's a sign of just good play calling and execution, and we'll kind of get our answer there later on. But they've I think the defense might be a little further along here than the offense. They did score 20 against Florida. A lot of that came, when Florida was a little bit distracted, I think. But defensively, they might be putting things together. They might be able to offer BYU a different, at least a little bit of a test. We'll see. I'm not convinced yet. This is a young team. It's a young coaching staff. It's a young everything, and they're not really quite where they want to be just yet.
What do you see from BYU from a metric standpoint? What stands out to you about this BYU Cougar football team? It does seem like they're strong in all three facets of the game. They don't have any weak links in special teams, defense, or offense, but it does seem that the defense has maybe outperformed at least the offense, but special teams and defense has maybe been the strength of this BYU Cougar football team. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I think that the offense has maybe been a little unlucky not to score more points, and the defense has been a little lucky to not give up more, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Not very efficient defensively. Really good at big play prevention and making stops in the red zone and all that. But that's kind of a tough line to toe. But at the same time, I mean, the run game is very, very solid. They're really good in short yardage. They avoid negative plays, especially in the passing game. So I do think it does feel like, from a point standpoint, the defense has done a little better than the offense, but I think it's close to turning in that regard. I think the offense is pretty close to a breakthrough. Obviously, quarterbacks, whatever other issues are at play, just from a macro standpoint, I think they're close to a lot more points than they've scored so far.
You know, it's interesting because I remember the 2016 Elisha Tuiaki coach defense, really good football team, 9-4, 8 points away from having kind of a magical season. And I remember, it seemed like the total yards against BYU's defense, I mean, everyone moved the ball against BYU, but as soon as they got into the red zone, they'd turn the ball over, or BYU would stop them, force field goals. Is that just I don't know if that's just me thinking about that or if there's some correlated data there, but give me your thoughts on it. Does it at all reflect the 2016 type of defense that we saw just a few years ago?
Yeah, it has. The identity of BYU's defense has kind of flipped back and forth through the years, whether it's just kind of a high-end bend, don't break situation, whether it's an attack at all times and, just dominate in the backfield. This definitely feels like more of a bend, don't break. They're allowing 6.1 yards per play through 3 games. That just generally that would suggest you're allowing 30 points a game most of the time, but they haven't even given up 20 yet because of the red zone execution, because of the turnovers. Well, and it is early, so we don't know. I mean, that could be luck. That could be just really good execution in key moments. That does happen. I mean, Northwestern did that for a decade or however long with guys like Mike Hankwith as head coach. We'll give you between the 20s, but as soon as you cross the 20, we're going to dominate you and hold you to a field goal or worse. And so you can do that, and we'll see if BYU can maintain that. But from an efficiency standpoint, at least compared to last year, almost no 3-and-outs. That hasn't really been all that much of a strength for them, but they are making stops. And that's, in the end, that doesn't have to necessarily be luck. They are making stops when they need to.
Bill Conley, college football insider and analyst here on ESPN 960, representing ESPN, the mothership. Bill, this BYU football team's 3-0 right now, top 15 in the country. Is this their best start in the last 20 years versus the strength of schedule that they've seen thus far?
Yeah, I mean, Arizona. I'm not going to talk too much about strength of schedule in Arizona, but Utah and Arizona State especially, really, really nice wins. Utah is hard to kind of figure out early on, but Arizona State has had loads of upside, and so being able to rein that in and pull out the win, I think, was very good. I mean, this is an important year for BYU. After last year, having the breakthrough performance that they did, against the schedule that obviously didn't have any of the opponents it was supposed to have. It felt like this could be an unfortunate situation where you get the schedule you wanted all along, but then a lot of your good players from last year left. So it was important to not fall too far, to take advantage of these early opportunities. And I mean, they've quite obviously done that. We'll see. USF shouldn't be a problem. We'll see what Utah State has to offer. We'll see what Boise State has to offer. There are plenty more tests on this schedule, but getting off to a fast start after all the turnover from last year, I think, is a huge thing.
Bill, how would you rank from most difficult to least difficult the remaining 9 games for BYU? I think this is an intriguing question. We've talked about it. What does the SP Plus metric system tell us about that? And break it down for us.
Well, I mean, the top, or I guess the bottom layer, whichever one. I mean, USF at home, Idaho State, at Georgia Southern. Statesboro in November is a pretty weird trip, but they haven't shown a lot so far. So unless they improve, all 3 of those games should be solid wins. But after that, I think, the trips to Baylor and USC, I think, are the most noteworthy, the potential loss. Baylor has played an extremely weak schedule so far, but it's completely dominated. I think they could be good. I mean, it's only been 2 years since they, nearly sneaked out a playoff bid. So I think they have a lot to offer this year. We'll find out a lot more. They play Iowa State this weekend, but that could be a tricky one. And I mean, USC, they've laid a big egg, got their coach fired, but I mean, the upside there, the offense has proven itself quite a bit over the last 2 years. I would still say that's the toughest game left on the schedule.
Yeah, the whole flip of Jackson Dart being the starter, will this make USC a better offense with Jackson Dart at the helm?
Well, apparently he's hurt. Apparently he jumps in the lineup because the starter gets hurt, because Slovis gets hurt, and then Dart gets hurt, so Slovis is apparently back in the lineup. We'll see by Thanksgiving. That might have flipped about 3 more times. We'll see. But it was kind of interesting. It did seem like even last year, Keaton Slovis kind of got in his own head a little bit. The opponents were mixing up coverages, dropping 8 a lot, just doing a lot of things to kind of confuse him and hope that he forces the issue, and he kind of forced the issue a little bit. So he needs a little more confidence, and the twists and turns in that quarterback battle there might be quite a few of them between now and when BYU actually plays them.
Yeah, sad news. My producer just whispered in my ear, said Jackson Dart tore his meniscus. I have not kept track of Jackson Dart, but that's a loss for the USC Trojans, because I think Jackson. I was chatting with a number of insiders, guys that are connected to the program, and we were kind of debating whether or not Jackson would come in and push Keaton Slovis, and I said yes, he would. And as soon as he got the opportunity, I think he would take the job from Keaton. And I thought he did this last week, and now he's injured. So it's unfortunate, man. You got to stay healthy. It's a game of attrition. Darnell, your thoughts?
Yeah, Bill, I was just wondering if you look at the national rankings, the AP rankings, and you compare those to your S&P rankings, what does that comparison tell you about where college football is right now?
Well, number one, it tells us that we definitely know who the top two teams are. SP Plus has Alabama, Georgia. The AP has Alabama, Georgia. We know that much. After that, I think there's a conversation about 15 different teams that could be number 3. Or the fact that Oregon's number 3 in the AP makes perfect sense. They have, maybe the biggest win of the year, aside from maybe Georgia beating Clemson in the opener. So it's fine. It's like from a resume perspective. But SP Plus doesn't really trust Oregon just yet. They got outscored or outgained per play in both of the first 2 games, including the Fresno State game. So I don't know if they're quite. They're clearly physically awesome, but they're not quite where they need to be overall just yet. They could get there. So, but no, with Clemson and Ohio State looking like genuinely vulnerable, Oklahoma might be too. I'm not completely convinced, but they could be there too. That just opens up the door for all these teams, for the Iowas of the world, but then the Penn States and the Texas A&Ms and the Floridas. Florida looked pretty good last week. So it's a really uncertain picture, and you see a lot of disagreement between SP Plus and the rankings after the top 2. That makes everything a lot more fun, I think.
Yeah, it really does. What's your win-loss projection right now, would you say, for the remaining 9 games of the schedule? I think you kind of stated, and I've talked about this a little bit on the show, like Baylor and USC are tough games. Could be L's for the Cougs. Boise State's going to be a tough one. There are only 2 losses. UCF and Oklahoma State, both good football programs.
Yeah, by 1.
Yeah, these are close losses. I don't know what you can take away from it, but what's your win-loss projection for these remaining 9 games for the Cougs?
So on average, right now they project to 9.3, which that's up a little bit from the season. Basically, it was looking at Utah State and Arizona State as probably a 1-1 kind of experience. So winning both obviously bumped them up a little bit. But I do think the big stretch. USF, SP Plus doesn't really trust Utah State yet. They've been really fortunate from a turnover standpoint. So they haven't really risen all that much in the rankings yet. Anyway, if they beat Boise State, that'll probably start to change. But those USF and Utah State and Idaho State and Georgia Southern are pretty likely wins. The rest are, at USC is only about a 31% win probability, and that 4-game stretch, Boise, at Baylor, at Washington State, and Virginia, all within about 5 to 6 points in terms of the projected margin. So basically, that's the next. Now that you've gone through a pair of toss-ups, that's the next set of toss-ups right there. That'll kind of determine whether you're looking at 7-5 or 10-2 or 11-1.
Yeah, it seems like even FPI, ESPN's FPI, has BYU currently as a 9-3 football team. So that's kind of where the metrics have BYU projected. We got Bill Conley, a man of the metrics, representing ESPN, the creator of SP Plus, breaking down BYU football. And this USF matchup, you stated 40-14. The spread from Vegas says minus 23.5. I think the over/under is set at 54. Do you think BYU covers? It sounds like, per your SP Plus rankings that they will. But do you pick the over or the under? Are you still feeling good about it?
I think so. We'll see. There's a chance after 2 really tight wins that BYU comes up a little flat, especially now that the schedule strength kind of goes down a little bit for a week. There's always a chance that they're a little flat and it takes them a little while to get going. We saw that a little bit with UTSA last year. Now, UTSA last year and this year better than USF, but it was the same kind of thing. They got a little sloppy there after a good run of performances. So maybe that's what happens. But if they play like they have so far, then yes, I would say, who knows what happens in garbage time, but I would say the odds are pretty good of something in that 24 to 31 point range overall.
Bill, always appreciate our time together. What's the best way to support you, your content, your product, everything that you do so you can work for ESPN for the rest of your life? That's
right. I'm all for that. The benefits are good. Follow ESPN_Bill C, and if you want to subscribe to ESPN Plus, that's where most of the college football content is, and a whole heck of a lot of video programs.
That's what I'm talking about. Bill, how often are you hopping on to radio shows, TV shows these days now that you transitioned over to ESPN?
A solid amount. I think people are there's an impression that you can't, that a lot of the ESPN talent is kind of off limits or something. I'm not really sure where that came from, but a solid amount. I have some friends that make sure that we chat every so often.
Well, I love having you on our show, man. It's always a blessing, always a pleasure to have you and your content, your insight. It's always awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today, Bill.
Thank you.
There you go, Bill Conley, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go to break. We're live from Larry H. Miller, Chevrolet, Larry H. Miller, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram, where you can test drive any one of these fantastic Jeep Grand Cherokee Limiteds, and you're going to get a free VIP pass to our tailgate, our ultimate tailgate event. You're also going to get a free parking pass next to LaVell Edwards Stadium so you can get in and out and avoid traffic. We're also going to give you Megaplex movie tickets. But with that VIP pass to our tailgate, you're going to get food, you're going to get drink, you're going to get fun. Surround yourself with greatness at our ultimate tailgate event tomorrow, live from the Chevron just across the street from LaVell Edwards Stadium. We'll go to break, but coming up next, we're going to welcome in our next guest. Who do we got, Darnell?
Beth Mullins.
Just look over at you because I'm trying to get through all of my reads. Beth Mullins coming up next. She's going to be on the call for the Cougs tomorrow night, 8:15 kickoff. Beth Mullins going to join us next. No more Rod Gilmore, at least for the time being. I did ask Cougar Nation, why is it that BYU fans don't like Rod Gilmore? Why is it, Darnell? All right.
I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time listening to the broadcast because I'm at the game.
You're at the game always. All right. We're not going to discuss that with Beth. We're going to get to know Beth and her comments and her insight into this BYU USF matchup coming up next here on your Cougar Sports Insider Radio Network, 94.5 FM and ESPN 960.
Just like the Cougar football team, Ben Criddle was built, not born. And since 2009, he's built himself into the go-to source on the radio and online for all things BYU. This is Cougar Sports with Ben Criddle on ESPN 960 and ESPN960sports.com.
Welcome back, Cougar Sports, ESPN 960. This is Cougar Country. I'm Ben Criddle, broadcasting live from Larry H. Miller, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, where you can test drive any one of these vehicles, get a VIP pass, a free parking pass next to LaVell Edwards Stadium, and also Megaplex movie tickets. But stop by our Ultimate Tailgate event tomorrow, and you're going to have a grand old time getting ready for that BYU USF matchup. Darnell Dixon by my side. It is time to talk some more BYU USF. And I can't wait for this game because there's a couple of benchmarks I want to look at, Darnell. And I don't know if you're looking at this, but I saw the Tom Homo tweet, and I was like, I think BYU is a little concerned that with the late kickoff, BYU is a top 15 team, that BYU fans aren't going to show up because the opponent isn't as good this week. And they've had 3 consecutive weeks right now where it's a late kickoff. That's kind of tough for family people. You got your faith too tomorrow morning. With a non-paid clergy, it makes it a little bit tougher, right? Because you have to go and maximize and magnify your calling. So I'm wondering how many BYU fans are actually going to show up tomorrow. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about this BYU USF matchup with the individual that's going to be calling the game for ESPN. I love her call. She does a fantastic job. You know her voice. You know her commentary. Let's welcome in the legendary Beth Mullins to the show. Beth, how you doing?
Great, guys. How are you doing?
We're doing fantastic. Excited for your call on Saturday night. When did you hear the news that you'd be calling this BYU game?
We actually just got assigned this week. So, it depends. Sometimes you find out maybe 10 days out. Sometimes we don't find out till Sunday night. And on a rare occasion, sometimes we don't even know until Monday morning where we're headed. So The good thing is I saw BYU a couple times last year, and, it's always a treat to come here. And I will say this here, and you talk about the crowd, guys. After having spoken with USF, they heard from both Utah and Arizona State how the crowd was able to impact the games the last couple of weeks. And they have been preparing for Cougar Nation to be in full bloom and in full throat on Saturday night.
Well, they were loud, no doubt. Utah, ASU, those were both ranked opponents, though, now, Beth. And USF is 1-2 with their only W over Florida A&M. So I don't know if there's going to be as many. I hope it's going to be loud. I hope they realize the 12th man did impact both of those games and helped BYU to victory. But you've chatted, I believe, with the coaching staffs of both of these crews. Let's start off with BYU. What type of insight did you get from this Cougar coaching staff as you prepare for your call?
Yeah, so we just landed wheels on the ground, and so I'm not sure if anything's changed in the last hour or so. But obviously, I think the first thing is, how much of Jaron Hall, what might we be able to see at quarterback? How much actually, even if he is a 100% go, do the coaches want to get a longer look at Baylor Romney and see how he does? The ties, obviously, with Baylor back to the 2019 USF game and his first career start that night. So that I think, first and foremost, they're well prepared to go with either guy. And I think probably – for BYU, they're going to want to try and establish a lot more of the run game moving forward and have that, good balance, regardless of who the quarterback is. And certainly I think that's going to be job number one for USF as well, as they've got to try and control the ball and control the clock with their run game to keep that BYU offense on the sideline.
Yeah, what type of confidence do you think this BYU team has in Baylor Romney if he gets the start? Jaron earned it. Jaron's QB1. Aaron Roderick, offense coordinator, stated after the announcement that Jaron scored more touchdowns and didn't turn the ball over nearly as much as the other two quarterbacks that were in the competition. But how much confidence do you think this coaching staff has in Baylor Romney trotting him out versus USF this week?
I think there's a lot of confidence there, and it goes back to, the fact that he went 3-0 as the starter, a few years ago when he had this opportunity and actually, helped them, pull off the upset over Boise State. So a guy that's been around the program a lot and has been around the system a lot, I don't think there's going to be too much of a hiccup if they did have to go to Baylor moving forward for this game. I think, as you know, and we hear all the time, there's no greater friend to a quarterback that may not have as much experience as there is a run game to support him. And with this receiving core that is so experienced, there's a lot of weapons around him that can certainly boost his confidence with some big plays early.
Beth Mowins, legendary play-by-play announcer here on ESPN 960, and she's going to be calling the game for the Cougs this weekend.
Yeah, Beth, you were talking about BYU's crowd, and all of us last year had to experience games at big stadiums with zero or very few fans because of the pandemic. What's been your experience this year getting back to calling games with the crowd and witnessing that and feeling the surge that goes through the stadium when there's a home crowd involved?
We don't necessarily feel it, guys, at the same level as the players do, but I think for us in the press box and for the fans in the stands, there's no doubt that we all, feel the buzz of that and feed off of that energy. Certainly we as announcers love to ride sort of the ebb and flow of a crowd and the way that there's noise back there and there's energy and enthusiasm back in the stands is a big boost for the players and the enthusiasm that they feel coming into a game. And it's the same kind of for us as well to be a part of that college experience that we've come to love over the years.
Beth, there are some out there that think BYU's overrated. They do have 2 ranked wins. They're 3-0. They have 3 Power 5 wins, the only team in the country to have that. And I think one of maybe 3 teams with 2 ranked wins this season. Do you think that BYU's ranked appropriately? Are they underrated, or are they overrated? Give me your thoughts on this.
I honestly think I think based on what we saw from the pollsters this week, they took the biggest jump of anybody in the polls, jumped up 8 spots. So I certainly think there's a lot of respect for what BYU has been able to do so far. There's so much respect around the name nationwide. And I think one of the big differences this year, guys, is perhaps not the pressure to win style points every single week, because the schedule last year, was kind of makeshift as they went, and they didn't have a lot of the big names or the Power 5 opponents. This year, it's a totally different story. They've handled their business against 3 Pac-12 teams already, and if memory serves me, they still have 4 more big names still to go on the schedule. So they're going to have plenty of sort of prove-it points, I think, the rest of the way. A lot is going to depend on how Cincinnati does in a couple of weeks against Notre Dame. I think a game for BYU fans to keep an eye on. And, of course, the challenge is now to handle your business against the teams that you're, quote-unquote, supposed to look good against and fare well against. And I think that's going to be, the test from a maturity standpoint for BYU this week is, how's your focus been coming off of 3 big wins? How's your focus now on an opponent?
Welcome. We're here with Jess, who is enjoying a cozy night in.
That's right, and she's lighting up. Is that candle?
Triple wick pumpkin spiced? Yes.
Oh, she is setting the harvest mood.
Is that a tasteful autumnal wreath?
Someone's been to Marshall's again.
Well, with quality home decor at great prices, what's stopping her? Oh, and a cozy blanket to top it all off.
That is so fall. Better get to Marshall's.
Fabulous brands.
Feel good prices at Marshall's.
That you actually do have, I think, a little bit to prove for some of those guys that lost to them in Tampa a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I was chatting with an insider from USF earlier today, and he said the highest point in USF football the last few years was that win over BYU, a 4-8 team that got a W over BYU at USF. I'm sure that still kind of hurt some of the guys, some of those players that were in that game that are starters this year at BYU. Hopefully they remember that. Beth Mowens here on ESPN 960, play-by-play voice for the mothership. ESPN going to be calling that BYU-USF matchup this weekend. Beth, BYU just got the invite to the Big 12, and it's been a long time coming to have a seat at the table, the Big Boys Club, right? Over the last 40 years, there's very few teams that have won as many football games, won as many basketball games as BYU. And I think for BYU football, it's like top 10 in wins in college football, and for BYU basketball, top 14 in wins. Why did it take so long for BYU to finally get invited to the Big Boys Club, do you think?
I'm not quite sure about that. Living on the West Coast the last decade or so, there's so much behind the scenes that we're not aware of, right? But it seemed, to be a bit of a no-brainer that a BYU and a San Diego State and a Boise State, when the first expansion, there seemed to be some teams that made a lot of sense to get to 16 in the Pac-12 even. And so, the behind-the-scenes machinations, I know a lot of it, too, has to do with you don't want to bring in a team that could be taking away your recruits or could be recruiting in fertile ground that you've always hit upon. From a basketball standpoint, first and foremost, as a fellow upstate New Yorker, I'm excited to see Jimmer Fredette this weekend back in town. Always good to see him around the Cougar campus. But I think it's an exciting time. I think with the pause in the playoff committee this week, I think that obviously has a lot to do with the moves concerning Oklahoma and Texas, and now the moves that the Big 12 is making to try and match that. So I think the big question moving forward is what's that playoff going to look like, and is it going to be an automatic bid for the Big 12? Because I think BYU, you hunt for that, year in and year out.
Beth, just kind of a personal question for you. Is there a particular sport that you enjoy calling the most? Is there like one that you just kind of like, I just love calling basketball or baseball or football games? Is there one you gravitate towards more than the other?
I like to say basketball is kind of home for me. I grew up in a basketball house. My dad was a high school coach. But I also grew up with three brothers, and our whole neighborhood of young kids in the neighborhood all played sports. You know, I talked to my good friend Holly Rowe about that a lot, and I was so thrilled for Holly to be able to, you know, have a homecoming with the Jazz announced earlier today.
Yep.
So basketball is home for me. Football is, you know, the once a week, the build up, the energy around that makes football very special. And, you know, probably I would say one of the great events that I work year in and year out is the Women's College World Series, and what we've been able to build as a company, as a brand, you know, to build college softball and the World Series to what it's become. It's, you know, one of those things that you mark down on the calendar each and every year.
You mentioned Holly, and she's got close ties with BYU as well, the state of Utah. You and her, you guys are pioneers in this broadcasting and reporting game. And you were the first woman to call, I think, a National Football League game, and something 30-odd years it took for you for you to represent your gender on the airwaves and on the television. And so when you're mentoring the females that are trying to endeavor to make an impact in this very highly competitive world that we all live in, what words of advice do you try to give them?
You know, I think first and foremost, you've got to be passionate about it. You know, there are a lot of different directions you can go within our industry, and so try and pinpoint what you want to do as early as you can, whether that's play-by-play or an analyst or a reporter or a host or an anchor, and then go after it with everything you got. You know, you've got to earn those opportunities. I come from I played growing up, so my sense is, you know, you've got to earn the respect of your coworkers. You've got to earn the respect of your coaches, if you will, your bosses, and, you know, get your foot in the door somewhere and then just start bugging people. Hey, can I get a shot at this? Give me a shot at that. And hopefully, you know, when that moment comes for you to earn that respect and show people what you can do, you're at your best. You know, I think what we've seen over the years, guys, is, you know, no matter who you are, if you see it, you can be it. And that's kind of the big thing, I think, as we move forward, to see, you know, people that, you know, are all different shapes, sizes, and colors and backgrounds that can do something. And if that's what you love to do, to, you know, chase it with all you've got.
I love those words of advice. Very powerful. Beth Mowens here on ESPN 960. I want to get your thoughts on it. I know it's not something you probably traditionally do, but you know, there's a few things that have happened this last year that I would love to get your insight on. Name, image, and likeness was thought to potentially ruin collegiate athletics. To be determined, right? We'll see kind of what happens. So, number one, I want to get your thoughts on just general name, image, and likeness, and how it's going to impact college athletics. And then I want to follow up with that with another question, because many people also thought that only men's football and only men's basketball were going to be impacted by this, and I don't think we're seeing that. I think we're seeing it cross over. And we've seen it here at BYU. It's crossed over into the female athletic realm. So, number one, name, image, and likeness, and then I want to follow up with it.
Yeah, well, I think there are some things that are really encouraging about it. First and foremost is the ability to help not only one guy or, you know, just the quarterback or the star basketball player, but what we're seeing now where companies or boosters are stepping up and paying for every walk-on to be put on scholarship. That's what a great idea. What a great way to handle that. You know, the better we can educate people and have them leaving college with less debt, you know, are two big positive check marks. I think, too, when we first looked at name, image, and likeness, we were kind of looking at it old school, like, you know, picking up a paycheck to go do a TV commercial for a local pizza joint, or to go get your face on a billboard for the local car dealer. Those avenues are still available, but I think we vastly underestimated the power of social media and, you know, the ability for what we've seen a lot of female athletes, gymnasts, softball players, basketball players, that on social media are reaching as big, if not bigger, audiences than a lot of the guys are. And the money through name, image, and likeness that is now available through social media, I think, has opened up a lot of avenues. The last thing is, I'd love to see, if it is a quarterback, that gets the opportunity, that he shares that money that comes into him with his backfield or with his, offensive line or taking the whole offense out to dinner. Those are the kinds of things that really have me encouraged about, the younger generation is doing some amazing things, and they're doing it together.
Yep.
I really love to see that.
Yeah, I like that, and it's something that Jaron and I think Baylor both tweeted out on their social media. Say, hey, we want to take care of our offensive linemen. Let's get some sponsors behind those guys as well. What was really cool this week is a company by the name of Smarty Streets came in and sponsored $6,000 per student athlete, per female student athlete within BYU's athletic department. Almost a $2 million investment from Smarty Streets, over 300 BYU female student athletes, and it was awesome to see. Like, this is an iconic time and a remarkable time in BYU athletics, but also collegiate athletics, where you're seeing not only these big time sports getting paid for and these individuals getting paid, but also the female athletes.
Yeah, and that's really something that has been cool to see. And the joint effort, the ability for a whole sort of community to get behind these and to get involved has been great to see. And, I go back to, I think one of the biggest name, image, and likeness winners out there is a pitcher at Alabama, Montana Fouts. When the men's and women's basketball tournaments were running simultaneously, a UConn women's player is getting just as much as, one of the Gonzaga guys was, and they're best friends growing up in Minneapolis, Paige Akers and Jalen Suggs. So those are the kinds of things that I think can be really cool about this. Obviously, there are some long-term effects. There are some, behind closed doors and behind the big curtain that, we don't know about yet, and hopefully those kinds of things don't really tip scales in terms of recruiting and things like that. So hopefully it continues to be positive in that regard.
Beth Mowins, ladies and gentlemen. Beth, we appreciate your time today. Very insightful. Love getting to know you a little bit better. Last thing for you, if USF is to triumph over the Cougars at LaVell Edwards Stadium, what are some of the keys to victory for USF, and what challenges do you think they pose to the Cougs? They have to be able to deal with the crowd if that is going to be something that comes into play. They've been working on that all week. They've got to be able to run. BYU will see a lot. It comes down to your eye discipline on the defensive side, and they do have a really agile and active and mobile quarterback that could be problematic. So that they have a couple of good running backs. They have one really good wide receiver. Their top receiver is out for the season, unfortunately, with an injury. So that they will have to rely heavily on those big playmakers in order to have a shot. I think they'd have to score with BYU to do it. Got to keep up. Beth, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today. Let us know how we can support you. Please follow Beth on Twitter, and make sure you're listening to the call tomorrow night on ESPN2. Thanks so much, Beth.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Darnell.
Thank you, Beth Mowins, ladies and gentlemen. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I talked to some of the BYU women's volleyball players last night, and Heather Olmstead. They beat Pacific 3-0. I wanted to talk to them about this Smarty Streets thing. And one of the things I hadn't really thought about, and Heather mentioned this, because I said, what do you think they'll spend this money on? Because she's got 12 scholarship players, plus she has a couple other super seniors that came back, doesn't count against the scholarship. So they're pretty much fully funded for their roster, but it's going to help, some of the walk-ons and freshmen and all that. But she said something about, being able to fly your family to a game.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool,
That's
right?
big time.
To be able to do that. And that was always something that was frowned upon by the NCAA, and where'd they get the money and all this suspicion. Now it's going to be a regular thing where if you've got some extra cash, you can go, hey, I can get my car fixed maybe if they have a car, or I can send my mom and dad. I can bring them to a game when they maybe couldn't have gone because of other circumstances. So it's a fantastic thing. The girls were super grateful for the opportunity. They had to get up at 6 a.m. to get to the hotel by 7, and they had no idea what was going to happen here. They were little, and of course, they'd never heard of Smarty Streets because Smarty Streets serves business customers.
Yeah,
right.
It's B2B.
Yeah, it's B2B.
It's not business,
so
not
it was
B2C.
It was something completely new for them, but certainly an amazing opportunity for these student athletes to feel appreciated because they work as hard, if not harder sometimes, than some of the male athletes who get all the money and all the glory and all the attention. this gives them an opportunity to realize, hey, I'm working and I'm getting closer. And the other thing Heather said was this helps these girls prepare for, and this is what BYU wants to do, is to help them prepare for life after volleyball, whether they become a mother or a CEO or a professional volleyball player, whatever it happens to be.
Yep.
This is an opportunity for BYU to step in and give them some ideas of what they might be doing in 3, 4, 5 years.
No, it's a great breakdown. We'll go to break. What's cooking with the Cougars coming up next? This is Cougar Sports on 94.5 FM and ESPN 960.
It's rush hour, and you're heading home after a long day. Now the question becomes, what are you going to pick up for dinner? Ben Criddle tells you what you should pick up and also gives you the latest news that's cooking with BYU Sports in What's Cooking with the Cougars here on ESPN 960.
Welcome back, Cougar Sports, ESPN 960. This is Cougar Country. I'm Ben Criddle, broadcasting live from Larry H. Miller, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, 1825 North University Parkway, just 2 blocks west of Lavelle Edwards Stadium, where you can pick up, if you test drive one of these fantastic vehicles on the lot. We're going to get you a VIP tailgate pass that gives you some food and some drink. And you get to hang out with us there at the VIP tent. I'm going to have you hop on the airwaves, give it a hot take on the BYU-USF matchup, so stop by. But also we're going to get you a parking pass. So you get a parking pass at the Chevron right across the street from Lavelle Edwards Stadium, so you get in and out and beat traffic, and Megaplex movie tickets. So stop by, say hello, get into one of these fantastic vehicles at Larry H. Miller, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, 1825 North University Parkway. It is time for What's Cooking with the Cougars. Getting into all the news and notes of the day. Darnell Dixon by my side, Bryce Larson behind the glass. Moochie's Meatballs is the sponsor of this segment. Always brought to you by our delicious and nutritious, delectable sandwiches over there. Authentic Philly cheesesteaks, the cheese chicken sandwich, the atomic meatball sandwich. How about the grilled veggie sandwich for all of those vegans out there? Fried ravioli is a side. Sweet potato fries, the cheese curds are delectable. The mac and cheese also fantastic, but they do have salads too, guys. So if you're wanting a salad, get your award-winning food. Authentic East Coast style sandwiches, salads, pasta, the Italian flair looking for. Birch beers always on tap, and the tasty cakes are for dessert. They're open for dine-in, delivery, curbside, and even takeout. Get your Moochies, MoochiesMeatballs.com today. All right, all the news and notes of the day regarding BYU football. So BYU 15th in the country, taking on USF, University of South Florida, September 25th, 8:15 p.m. kickoff at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. Going to be on natural grass. What does the weather look like? I feel like the last 2 weeks, it's like on Saturday, moisture
what I've seen, no rain expected.
No rain.
No rain expected.
No rain expected. Just a sunny, beautiful day tomorrow on Saturday. High of 84, low of 48, no precipitation, no moisture on the docket.
Sounds good.
All right. Excellent. Fantastic. BYU will have a new television broadcast crew, as mentioned earlier this week. Beth Mullins will be on the play-by-play. Kirk Morrison and then Don Davenport will call the game on ESPN2. Do you feel like, would BYU fans and would all fan bases around the country rather have a local play-by-play voice on television for ESPN that knows the team better than the national play-by-play voices? And
I think it's split. I think there are some fans who would love to have, say, Dave McCann call every home game on TV. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of fans also who appreciate the national perspective. They want to hear an ESPN play-by-play or color guy say BYU is good.
Yeah.
Right? I think they like hearing that.
Knows the team maybe a little bit better.
Oh, I've always said that. I've always said it's you hear a lot from, and I don't want to pick on BYU Sports Nation because I think they have a great show, but they only really interview their own people and national media.
Okay.
Don't really get a chance to see BYU on a regular basis. And is there anybody in this industry, in this local area, than, like, say, Dick Harmon, who knows more about BYU football than Dick Harmon? Probably nobody. Jay Drew is an amazing beat writer.
Sure.
Jeff Call has been here forever, knows the team really well. Those guys have great insight into the team and probably better insight than the national media. But it's cool to hear an ESPN reporter say, hey, that BYU quarterback should be a Heisman candidate.
Yeah, we care more about what the outsiders are saying about us than what we care about, the local media.
And if you want the local, you can listen to Greg Wrubell on the radio and sync it up to your TV. How's
That's
that?
true. True.
Because Greg Greg has knows the team as well as anybody as well.
Yes. So Riley Nelson, fantastic as well. We're going to get him on the show maybe next week. Per Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews, if you remove the OU and Texas teams from the Big 12 and add the new 4 schools, the future Big 12 is at the top of college football. Non-conference record versus Power 5 opponents. Currently, the future Big 12 is 7-3 with a winning percentage of .700. Big 10's 8-5. The SEC and OU/Texas 7-5, so that's a winning percentage of .583. ACC's 3-8. Pac-12 is 3-9 versus Power 5 foes.
Rough start for Pac-12. Yeah.
So the ACC too. The ACC's struggling. Per Dave Bartu in College Football Matrix, Kalani's record versus recruiting rankings, right? So this is how it's played out. In 2016, they overachieved with their recruiting rankings, +4 that season. So
that was Broncos guys, right?
Yeah.
The guys
but yeah, it's just like their recruiting rankings, right? So you're looking at the opponent's recruiting rankings, and you're in the last 4 or 5 years, and you're looking at your recruiting ranks the last 4 or 5 years, and you're comparing who's going to win or lose this game solely off of recruiting rankings.
Okay.
BYU overachieved by 4 wins in 2016. In 2017, they were -5. They lost to 5 teams that they recruit better than. 2018, they were even. So that means if you recruited better than them, you beat them. If you didn't recruit better than them, I guess you lost, which is interesting because, I don't know, 2019 was one of those years where you won some that you shouldn't have won, USC and Tennessee, and then you lost to USF and Toledo. So that's why you're at 0. 2020, 0. But this year already you're +3 because you recruit not as effective and efficiently as U of A, ASU, and Utah per recruiting ranking.
Interesting look.
So I thought that was interesting. Career +2 games better than recruiting location projections. The best in the business to overachieve versus their recruiting rankings is Bill Snyder. He was +3.67 games per season at Kansas State.
That doesn't take in junior college recruits, does it?
No, he had a lot of transfers.
Because he hit the junior colleges really hard, Bill Snyder did.
Yes, he did.
When he was at K-State.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Football game information. You can take the front runner guys to the game. So that's always nice. Take the front runner if you're trying to get out of traffic. BYU 3-0 versus South Florida 1-2. Gates open at 6:15. We're going to be at our tailgate event. I think we're going to start up. We're going to fire up at 5, but we'll be out there before that, just across the street. No bags are permitted. BYU flag giveaway. That's pretty cool. Make sure you bring your mobile tickets. And parking has changed. There are I'm a Cougar Club member. I have to park really far away. I'm glad I have my Chevron ticket. It's a great thing. BYU women's basketball. This is something that I think you've been covering. They got their schedule released on Thursday. The non-conference slate includes 3 games against Pac-12 opponents, matchups with the ACC, Big 10, and Big 12. The season gets warmed up in an exhibition contest at home against Westminster November 4th. But then you got Lipscomb, Fresno State, Arizona State, Boise State, Utah State, Florida State, West Virginia, maybe Purdue at the St. Pete Showcase, at Utah, at Oklahoma, Washington State, at Montana State, and then you get into West Coast Conference.
Preseason schedule for BYU. There's some pretty tough teams in there, and some more, maybe a few more Power Fives than they're generally playing in the preseason.
Yes, indeed. So moving on to track and field, Connor Mance led number 3 BYU men's cross country to its 2nd straight meet title at the 35th annual Roy Grach Invitational at Les Bolstad Golf Course on Friday. Manson Wesley Kiptu of number 10 Iowa State remained neck and neck for much of the men's 8K and finished within 1 second of each other after a final burst from Mance as the 2 All-Americans approached the finish.
Yeah, about the last 50 yards, Kiptu had a little bit of a lead, and Mance just sailed right past him. Boy, talk about having that much kick left in an 8K. Crazy.
Ridiculous. Cougar Club announcement, the details for this week. BYU food, go brownies, mint brownies, cream puffs. All you Cougar Club members getting some deliciousness there. Water, you got a 3-point contest. The Cougarettes and signed posters from 3 alumni to be determined. So there's 3 former Cougars that will be there for your Cougar Club event. Should be fun. Should be great. Should be grand. Should be wonderful. All right. BYU Rugby takes on UVU tonight at home at 7 p.m. Admission is free, so go and support the Cougar Rugby team. Any other news or notes?
Just want to pub a story I'm writing, finished actually, for tomorrow in the Daily Herald on Tyler Algier. Everyone's written about the play. I talked to him. I talked to his high school coach, and it was a really interesting conversation and learned a lot of great things about Tyler. And it's kind of the area he grew up is kind of rough at times. You know, it's an area. Yeah, it's an area that at one point had a really big steel mill in it, and that closed about 40 years ago. But he learned a lot from growing up and playing at Kaiser High School, and that kind of shaped how he approaches things. Some great stories about how after the Idaho Potato Bowl in 2019, the next day he called his high school coach and said, "I need to get into the weight room. Got to get to work. So anyway, check that out tomorrow on heraldextra.com. It was a fun story to write. I love talking to high school coaches, and like he told me, he said, I could talk about Tyler forever, and all day, and he kind of did. You know, it's hard to get him off the phone because he really likes not only what Tyler did for him, but what he represents that he can show to his team. Because this week they had a bye week, and they started 1-3 at Kaiser High, a very young team, he told me. And he said he was able to take that video of Tyler, show it during the bye week, and say, look, guys, this is what Tyler does. He just gets to work, right? When things get tough, it doesn't matter. He's still after it, and you want to be like him.
Yeah. So
a great teaching tool for him with Tyler.
Great insight. I'll be reading that. The Daily Herald. Follow Darnell on Twitter at Darnell Writes for all of his commentary and insightful articles. Bryce Larson, executive producer. What else we got?
Yeah, some BYU football opponent news. Right now, Virginia is trailing Wake Forest 17-3. That's on ESPN2 if you want to watch the rest of that. Wake Forest has been able to move the ball, actually, on them pretty easily so far. Wake Forest is 3-0. Virginia is 2-1 right now. And then tomorrow as well, 10 a.m., early kickoff, Boise State at Utah State. It's going to be on CBS, so if you want to check them out there as well.
Like it. You got to know the foe. You got to watch the film and prepare for your next opponent, no doubt. Well, make sure you stop by Larry H. Miller, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram and test drive these vehicles, whether it's a Jeep Grand Cherokee or a Dodge Ram. So much to choose from on the lot right now. Get them while they last, and make sure you show up to our fantastic tailgate event tomorrow at Lavelle Edwards Stadium, right across the street, at least at the Chevron. We'll get you prepared with all sorts of guests and commentary, sound bites as BYU and USF face off. 8:15 p.m. at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. But get food, have your friends come by. Royal Army brand will be there, so if you need some Navy gear prior to kickoff, you know where to come. Right there across the street. Get yourself some BYU swagger by fans, for fans. From all of us here at ESPN 960, have a very good night. Have a safe night. You've been listening to Cougar Sports on 94.5 FM and ESPN 960.
Okay, we're at home with Jen, who is taking out the trash.
That's right. And goodness, look at that designer sweater and jeans combo.
Oh, she is nailing that cozy casual look.
Oh, she's opening the can, and the trash is in.
She is working that driveway.
Well, with Marshall's amazing prices on designer fall fashion, no one can blame her for feeling this fabulous.
Whoa! Oh, just look at that lipstick.
Better get to Marshall's.
Ooh, I'm leaving right now. Fabulous brands.
Feel good prices at Marshall's.
Okay, we're at home with Jen, who is taking out the trash.
That's right. And goodness, look at that designer sweater and jeans combo.
Oh, she is nailing that cozy casual look.
Oh, she's opening the can, and the trash is in.
She is working that driveway.
Well, with Marshall's amazing prices on designer fall fashion, no one can blame her for feeling this fabulous.
Whoa! Oh, just look at that lipstick.
Better get to Marshall's.
Ooh, I'm leaving right now. Fabulous brands.
Feel good prices at Marshall's.